Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you, Patrick, Javier, Mike. Uh, the idea that there are two things really going on here. There are two things going on. Neither of them are primary to the other one. Neither one of them is being used as a symbol for the other. Both of them are real. Janine's story is real. The story of the surrounding environment is as real. That's what, in my mind, we can discuss that later. That in my mind, that's what distinguishes a good philosophical novel from a bad, lame philosophical novel. In a lame philosophical novel, it would be okay, Janine here is a stand-in for Algeria or the desert, people living in a desert. But it's not. That's not the case here. Janine is a real individual, as are the people. Her perspective, her experiences. There's a reality to both aspects, and to borrow Patrick's word, they are reinforcing each other. Each side of the story is revealing something about the other side potentially. James made a note about existentialism and heroism and a heroic stance uh, encouraged by Sartre and Camus. There's a distinction apparently between um, the responses of Sartre and Camus. Sartre is more on the side of the human. That's why for Sartre, it's the solutions we seek are happiness, if there is happiness. It is created by human beings. It is created in art. So art is our refuge. In that sense, we can say Sartre is on the side of people like Hegel. Camus, that's why, to go back to Tyson's notes, his history, I think Camus has a complicated relationship to history, to man-made creations or human-made creations. For Camus, the refuge is not art, it's not human artifacts, it's nature. And he loves nature, but he loves nature and native things and native settings and things in a way that a man loves women without fully understanding them. He loves nature, wanting nature to be distinguished from history, wanting nature to be what calms him, what gives him that sense of happiness, the passing happiness that he occasionally experiences. So he has this very peculiar understanding of what nature is, which is open to discussion. It's Camus' nature, which overlaps with what we might understand as nature too. Javier talks about infidelity of self, infidelity to self, maybe because Janine is following the norms of society, like choosing to be with someone that she feels loved with, choosing to not go with the life of loneliness, and the ending, what that ending is. Why is she crying? To me, she's crying because she has gained a sense of independence. Maybe she has grown in her independence, and that involves a grief, a loss. She has lost a little bit of that connection to her husband. Just like a country, a former colony, now it is independent, but now they are, because of that independence, they are more responsible. And there's a sense of loss in that they've lost support. And support is not just the financial support, it's a support of worldview. It's so great to be childish and have your worldview be provided by a husband or by parents or by people who are the masters of cultures. Like, well, yeah, I'm so comforted by this. But now she's not comforted as much. Maybe that's one possible reading of that ending, the breakdown and the way she says nothing is nothing. Why it's nothing? Because yeah, you can't comfort me anymore. Like don't worry about it. It's not something that you can help me with. And yeah, I just love this thing that Tyson unlocked. The way you said most likely Algeria, and you haven't even talked about that yourself, but the parallel between man, wife, France, Algeria, that's just, yeah, I'll keep thinking about that. That's it. I'll stop there. Let me read. I'm thinking, Mike asked something that I've been thinking about, stuck in my mind. And the question of whether or not Janine changes as a result of this, what we read in this short story. Because short stories, some people believe that it's short stories tend to be descriptions of scenes or episodes in which one meaningful action happens or one meaningful change one thing changes fundamentally. Tends to be a description of a common type of short story. Although in this collection, we read about stories that happen or are described at a larger scale of many years. But assuming that we can work with that hypothesis, what is the change in Janine, and is that change significant enough, or is it as Javier described, proposed? As Javier proposed, maybe it is not fundamental enough or radical, drastic enough change. And she's realizing that it is not drastic enough. And that's why she's crying at the end. I think that the change is significant. And it's something that begins before that encounter with the starry sky. There's a first encounter with the image of what she sees when she climbs the stairs and goes to the roof of that fort. Anyways, I'm going to read a little bit. This is from my version, page 22. This is the Carol Cosman translation. In the advancing afternoon, the light softened gently. The crystalline sharpness dissolved. At the same time, in the heart of a woman, brought there by chance alone, and not tightened by years, habit, and boredom, was slowly loosening. Homeless, remote from the world, there were a handful of men wandering through the vast territory, the territory her gaze had discovered, and which was nonetheless only a trivial part of a still greater space, whose dizzying course stopped only thousands of kilometers farther south, where the first river finally waters the forest. She's discovering that scene, the vastness of a territory. But as we talked before Chris joined us, there's this parallel between Janine and Janine's self-discovery and the discovery of the environment. And maybe this applies, this vastness of how much there is to what is being described is also the vastness of Janine. Since the beginning, on the dry earth of this measureless land, scraped to the bone, a few men ceaselessly made their way, possessing nothing but serving no one, the destitute and free lords of a strange kingdom. Janine did not know why this idea filled her with a sadness so sweet and so vast that she closed her eyes. She only knew that this kingdom had been promised to her from time immemorial. Contra historical sensibility, contra history. It's outside of history. Promised to her from time immemorial, and that it would never be hers, never again, except perhaps in that fleeting moment when she opened her eyes. Once more on the suddenly still sky and its streams of fixed light as the voices rising from the Arab town fell suddenly quiet.